Hello everyone. Today we will explore serious accidents in the testing industry, incidents involving ancient machines and submarines, as well as the huge financial losses they caused. Let's follow and learn about these events. Imagine building a telescope that will be launched into space, serving as a magic eye for humanity to explore the universe in a whole new way. There was no room for error in this project. The most important step was to build the reflector, the core part that determines the telescope's ability to function. However, the responsibility for checking the accuracy of the sanding and polishing process fell to the contracted company, which used a single tool to carry out this process. NASA did not closely monitor this process, and this led to disaster. When the telescope was launched into space, instead of delivering the expected clear images, it sent back blurry images. The cause? A small error of just 1.3 millimeters in the precision of the mirror. This small mistake was costly, nearly $1.5 billion to repair the telescope in space. Perhaps it was the burning of all 4,000 luxury cars at once. That's exactly what happened to the crew of the Felicity Ace, which was carrying a slew of high-end models including Lamborghinis, Porsches, and Bentleys. Unfortunately, one of the cars was powered by electric batteries, and it was the lithium-ion batteries that caught fire. The initial smoldering fire went unnoticed, and when firefighters arrived, they realized that water was not effective in extinguishing lithium-ion batteries. This forced them to watch helplessly as the entire cargo, worth $401 million, went up in flames. This was the second test flight of the giant 92-meter-long airship, which was expected to reach a top speed of up to 148 kilometers per hour. However, something unexpected happened and the plan did not go as expected. A leak can be devastating, especially when it happens in an astronomical aquarium that was built to simulate an indoor ocean with a volume of nearly 11 million liters of water. Although every calculation was done meticulously and perfectly, a small mistake occurred, leading to the aquarium with 33,000 fish starting to leak. The damage is estimated to be nearly $20 billion to fix, a huge cost that is hard to imagine. This is truly an unavoidable situation, but also a valuable lesson in perfection in design and construction. The Three Gorges Dam, the world's most powerful hydroelectric power plant and the largest mass structure on the planet, is located on the Yangtze River in China. The project, which has cost a huge amount of money, has caused some notable problems. The relocation of a record 1.3 million people alone has come at a huge cost, with the total budget running into billions of dollars, 4 times the GDP of Estonia. Initially, officials claimed that the dam would bring major ecological benefits, but China has since acknowledged the serious environmental consequences. Landslides, increased sedimentation and waste buildup in the dam have become increasingly common. Some reports indicate that the construction of the dam and its associated infrastructure was not properly implemented, leading to potential risks. More than 360 million people live in areas at high risk of flooding, hundreds of times the entire population of the United States. This raises concerns about whether the Three Gorges Dam is really a sustainable and safe solution for China's future. It was thought to be very expensive, but in fact, the cost was far beyond imagination. Can you believe it? The U.S. Navy's Littoral Combat Ship project, with an initial plan to build 55 ships, each expected to cost $220 million, gradually became a huge cost disaster. Over time, the cost of each ship skyrocketed to $478 million. After 14 years since the first launch, 35 ships were completed, with the total cost increasing to $31 billion. What's even sadder is that auditors concluded that the project did not achieve the expected capabilities. Not only that, the technical maintenance of the fleet was also a big problem, costing an additional $60 million per ship. The efficiency did not meet expectations, but this price makes people curious. With such a huge amount of money, is it possible to build the same ship with solid gold? This was probably one of the most expensive fires in history, even surpassing the largest fire ever to hit New Mexico in terms of economic damage. Although the fire ravaged a massive area of 138,000 hectares, the financial damage was even more devastating. The initial fire was the result of some mismanagement of the fire. The company responsible for the fire let it get out of control. As a result, two major fires merged into one unstoppable disaster. The cost of restoring the forest landscape after the fire was estimated at $133 million. The bulk of the huge cost went to replacing the city's water filtration system, around $100 million, and assisting victims affected by the fire, which totaled an impressive $3 billion. In front of you is the S-80 submarine, a vessel specially designed to operate in Spanish waters. With high-tech projects like this, the level of responsibility and the need for precision are unimaginable. But humans can still make incredible mistakes. Initially, engineers calculated that the weight of the submarine would be 7.7 tons. However, due to a decimal point error, this number was incorrectly entered as 77 tons in the calculations. This error caused immediate losses of up to 14 million US. The difficulties did not stop there. Some reports indicate that the total cost of the project has increased to billions of US dollars. The Suez Canal accident has not only inspired countless funny memes, but also been a dramatic story about a major incident in maritime history. A giant container ship, one of the largest in the world, suddenly blocked a global artery, causing an unprecedented crisis. Although it is difficult to imagine the full scale of this incident, the consequences it brought were enormous. The Suez Canal's paralysis has brought global trade to a standstill, with estimated losses of up to $400 million per hour, equivalent to $9.5 billion per day. The total estimated damage exceeds $230 billion, a figure that only Elon Musk's fortune can compensate for. It is hard to beat the achievement of the first officer of the Golden Ray. With 4,100 cars worth $142 million on board, he failed to double-check the data entered into the stability calculation program. As a result, the ship lost balance and capsized, causing serious damage. However, the mistake did not stop there. The investigation after the accident also discovered another error from the entire team. Some of the ports of the ship's water tanks were left open, allowing water to flood in and make the situation worse. The total damage of the incident was estimated at $200 million. You may have seen the Sydney Opera House, a world-famous architectural icon and the pride of Australia. As beautiful and unique as it is, few people know that this building encountered countless problems during its construction. The Sydney Opera House can be considered a typical example of an important building that was completed despite many serious flaws. Initially, the building did not have a specific and detailed plan. In 1957, the Australian government held a competition to select an architect, and in 1958, Björn Utzon's design won. As a result, instead of being completed within 4 years at a cost of $7 million Australian dollars as planned, the building took more than a decade and the cost increased to $102 million Australian dollars. However, the final result exceeded expectations, becoming one of the most iconic architectural works in the world. The Sydney Opera House is not only an artistic masterpiece, but also a valuable lesson in how not to manage a large-scale project. Imagine buying a new car and then realizing that it will never fit in your garage. That's exactly what happened in France with a surprising train project. When the French National Railways decided to upgrade its fleet, the idea of modern trains was great. After nearly 2,000 trains were delivered, they discovered that the trains were several centimeters wider than the existing stations. As a result, some trains could not stop properly because the gates did not fit the platform. Some trains rusted when they stopped, and others needed their platforms to be modified to be usable, with the total cost of repairs and adjustments reaching 50 million reais. You can see the pain radiating from this man's eyes. This is the expression of a man who has lost a valuable asset by his own hands. The story of his costly mistake began in 2009, when he started mining Bitcoin on his laptop. Everything went smoothly until 2013, when he decided to sell the computer for parts and left the hard drive containing 7,500 Bitcoins on the shelf. He thought his assets would always be safe there. However, during a general cleaning, James accidentally threw the hard drive along with the trash into the trash, losing his entire fortune. The hard drive containing the Bitcoins was lost in a huge landfill, where there were tons of garbage. The authorities organized an excavation, but the precious asset could not be found. At the time, the asset was worth more than $7 million, but if calculated in current value, this amount could be up to $221 million. With just a small part of it, the boy could buy a Rolls-Royce and live a full life with $60 million, leaving another $100 million to enjoy. Perhaps paying the price for such a mistake will make you realize that sometimes memory and caution are more important than everything else. Airport baggage handling systems have always been a source of frustration for many passengers, and Denver International Airport set out to improve them. But as you might imagine, things weren't easy. The airport planned to implement a new automated system for handling and transporting baggage, which was supposed to take 2 years to complete. But things got worse. Ironically, while the project took 2 years to complete, Munich Airport only took 2.5 years to complete a similar system. In contrast to the technical experts in Munich, those in Denver ignored the experts, saying the plan was too complicated and impractical. As a result, after 16 months, the project was overdue, and the system still didn't work as expected. The cost was $560 million over budget. For comparison, the cost of building the Burj Khalifa skyscraper was only 3 times this amount. One day, the US Air Force was faced with an incident that they would certainly like to forget. One of their most modern and sophisticated aircraft was completely destroyed by human error in a simple rainstorm. Each aircraft is invaluable, so the loss was all the more painful to see the plane burst into flames shortly after takeoff and then disappear forever. The incident became even more tragic when it was discovered that the cause of the accident was a very simple mistake. An employee forgot to turn on the heating system. The heavy rain caused condensation, and this accumulation led to a fault in the plane's control system. A weak justification for the $1.5 million loss in Mexico was that a shopping mall collapsed shortly after opening. Upon investigation, the architectural firm discovered that the building elements were not strong enough to support the weight of the entire structure. So perhaps it was time to test the structural elements for strength before the building was put into operation. Let's take a step back in time and consider this elegant dance, an extremely expensive affair. The Tacoma Bridge, then the third largest suspension bridge, did not hold that title for long. Just 4 months after its inauguration, the bridge succumbed to a powerful storm and collapsed. It cost an estimated $6 million, the equivalent of nearly $1 billion today. However, it is safe to say that the loss was not in vain. It spurred engineers to develop modern safety technologies that we still use today. Looking at this building, you might wonder where such a ridiculous spending of money could go. The Ryungcheon Hotel in North Korea is a prime example. Built over 30 years ago, North Korea wanted to create a world-class landmark, surpassing its neighbors and building a luxury hotel. The building cost an estimated $750 million, or 2% of the country's GDP. For comparison, the Burj Khalifa in Dubai cost twice that much. The building, despite its grand appearance, is often listed among the ugliest buildings in the world. Ultimately, the cost went way over budget and construction stalled when the money ran out. The investors disappeared and the 330-meter skyscraper remains empty, without any use. A complete nonsense from start to finish, a clear waste of resources and an impractical project. Residents of the area have long been unhappy with their new homes. One day, while one of them was mowing his lawn, he discovered a large hole in the ground. The cause of the collapse was more surprising than the fact itself. The homes were built on top of a giant abandoned mine. It's hard to know whether the builders knew about it all along or simply neglected to check. What's certain, though, is that they're now facing a $75 million class action lawsuit. Many blockbuster movies spend a huge amount of money on creating amazing props. A typical example is the scene in The Hateful Eight, where Daisy, played by Jennifer Jason Leigh, plays the guitar. This scene became one of the most memorable moments of the movie, but what few people know is that the guitar she uses is actually worth up to $40,000. It is actually a very valuable classical guitar, but instead of using a replica, the crew decided to use the real guitar without informing the actress. As a result, when the guitar broke during the scene, Jennifer Jason Leigh was really surprised and somewhat stunned because she had not known about its value before. In the auto industry, into a major crisis. This happened to Toyota, one of the world's largest automakers, when they were forced to carry out a huge recall. The story began when Toyota decided to design the mats for all climates, but did not conduct adequate testing in real-world driving situations. As a result, on many models, the mats could get stuck in the accelerator pedal, causing dangerous incidents. After a number of serious accidents, Toyota was forced to recall more than 8 million vehicles worldwide. This recall cost the company $2 billion, not to mention a $1.2 billion fine for deliberately concealing the problem. It is also considered one of the most expensive mistakes in the history of the auto industry.